It says we're live. That's nice, isn't it? Good evening, guys. It's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and we are back. Finally, I almost forgot how to do this job then. It seems to have been a very long time. I honestly forgot football existed because we have had a very peaceful 2 or 3 weeks with no FA Cup, no getting shut on by a team called Kidderminster, which nice change for us. There's no people kicking cats around here. There's no star players
kicking cats.
Yeah, I mean, compared to everybody else, I think it's going to be a positive show because our players aren't an absolute shit show. Good evening to you guys. Hello, Scott, and hello, Martin. Welcome back.
Hola, señorita.
Well, so Scott, what have we missed? Tell everybody what's been going on with you for the last few weeks.
Everybody knows I've been on here every few days.
Tell everybody that only watches the big match preview.
That's it. No, well, obviously I've got Easter Bunny coming up, but other than that, I'm going to be destroying people's views on live tomorrow on the live watch along. Just generally being as offensive as one can be.
Good. That's where we like
Standard. Yep.
And, what tipple have you got with you tonight? You can see I'm on the water as Chris Kelly would like me to be.
Black coffee, no sugar.
How would Chris Kelly feel about black coffee? Is he okay with you drinking black coffee?
Perfectly fine. In fairness, I do need to drink about another 2 liters of water today.
For anyone that doesn't know, Chris Kelly has taken the vast majority of the All Leeds TV crew that wanted to under his wing and decided to personal train the lot of us. So we are all now drinking what he tells us to and eating what he tells us to and doing workouts that hurt our legs. Martin, I don't believe you're having the unfortunate pleasure of doing this. How's your few weeks been of peace and quiet?
Well, it's been fine, other than being poorly. I've had something resembling COVID, but not COVID. It's still taken me out for the past 5 or 6 days. And
was it COVID?
No, it was not, but it's very close to COVID. I've done multiple tests, and none of them come back positive. Maybe, yes, that could be, or maybe it's COVID-20. I don't know.
Nice.
The next level, yeah,
very good.
But other than that, yeah, I've been kind of enjoying the little break from football, to be honest. Just gets us going for the rest of the season, and I'm hoping that the players have enjoyed their little break. I know someone went off to Dubai, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they've had a bit of a break. So I'm hoping that they come back refreshed and we end the season well.
So obviously, I know, Scott, you've obviously done your little bits around the transfer window, but for me and Martin and for the three of us together, this is the first time a lot of people watching and for us talking about it, we'll be able to touch on the transfer window. So we'll obviously dive into everything that Marcelo Bielsa got into yesterday in his pre-match press conference. A lot to dig into there. I know, Scott, obviously in your video, you spoke a little about the 10 players stuff, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll move into the big match preview as well. We've got plenty of time, plenty of stuff to discuss. But as we sort of alluded to there, it's been a fucking weird day for football. West Ham, who are obviously playing now, have decided to start Kurt Zouma after condemning hours ago a video of him beating the shit out of his cat. Jack Grealish is absolutely fucking steaming outside a bar, and Pep Guardiola's doing an interview saying, "I'm only upset they didn't invite me." Marcelo Bielsa not signing players or not wanting to sign players, or this whatever this reading of his behaviour is. Surely it could be worse, right, Scott?
Phil, see what you're saying about all those other players from other clubs.
Yeah.
All these scandals, all this drama. It's happening with all these other clubs. Meanwhile, last night our under-23s played to a crowd of just under 10,000.
Yeah.
And Sean McGurk took time out to take a kid to his car and give him a pair of his own football boots.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. It's one of those things that people are saying, is it the agents that are constantly telling these kids, yes, 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 making them think they can do whatever they want? Or is it just in their genes? It's something I've been saying as well. But it can't apply to all these footballers, because you look at these Leeds players, Liam Cooper taking time out to go and speak to schools about health and fitness, Paddy Bamford doing it, Sean McGurk last night, all these wee tiny things, even Somerville last night took time after the match to go and see all the fans.
Yeah.
Do you know, no other team can say that their young players do that or set that example, because they don't, aside of Marcus Rashford being the one rarity, but none of the rest of them do. I just have no faith in these Premier League prima donnas at all.
Yeah. No, I can't say I blame you. It is very much. I did look at the two things that came out today and just sat there thinking, wouldn't happen to a Bielsa side though, would it?
Yeah.
It's one of them. I just don't. I know we obviously take the piss with that picture of Stuart Dallas on the lads' holiday after we'd just won promotion. Like, don't win in London, all that stuff. Like, but it is rare you would see like anything bad coming out of Leeds. Thankfully, since the 𝐘𝐿 stuff, which is really seemingly a while away now, which is nice. We don't have to worry about that shit. But then obviously we will obviously get into the 10 players and the interpretation. Martin, what did you take from what Bielsa said? Because I know there is going to be different ways of interpreting what he said. I listened to the Square Ball a lot, and they were sort of delving down a couple of different paths of what could he have been trying to say. But we normally like to think we have a good understanding of what he's hinting at. What did you take from those 10 in particular? And I think we'll come on to Somerville himself shortly anyway.
Well, I think it's maybe a little bit lost in translation, that I don't think he meant that there was 10 players who were wanting to leave. I think it's maybe just the fact that there's 10 players who would like to play a bit more game time.
Yeah.
But are not at nowhere near the point of what Somerville was, where Somerville was clearly wanting out.
Yeah.
So Bielsa may have come across that Bielsa said that there was 10 players who wanted out, but I don't think that's the case. To be honest, I can't imagine it being that much of a problem. Obviously, we had Dramé and we had Somerville, and it's possible that those two didn't quite sync with the rest of the youth sides. There might have been some personality clashes. It can happen with groups, especially younger players, and not all of them get on perfectly. And maybe those two in particular just were a bit more unhappy than the rest. But I don't think it's as bad as what Bielsa said, that it's 10 players who want to leave and get out on loan and get minutes. But who knows, really? We're going to take it at what Bielsa said. But I'm not worried about what Bielsa said there. I think it's a bit lost in translation, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope so. Obviously, I know, Scott, you did a couple of minutes on it on your video. I'll ask you the same question again. But for me, when the quote came out, I kind of took it as, if there was 10 players, I think we'd know by now, to be honest, because obviously, like, a little bit of me sort of thought, oh, well, is that why 𝐼𝐈𝐄 been on the bench then? Because there's a lot of players at the time that were older and necessarily more match ready than 𝐼𝐈𝐄 that weren't on the bench. So maybe I sort of can see it both ways. I can see it as, well, it is a possibility that these players are, and let's be honest, it is only human nature to want to do, if you are playing football, you want to be a footballer, you want to play minutes in the team. And the dangerous area that I think we heard from the Phil Hay show when they had Cresswell's agent on and Shackleton's agent on, there's a dangerous area between the 23s and the first team where you end up not playing minutes for the 23s because you're part of that first team squad, but you also can't get in the first team squad. So you're just basically used in murder ball, and that's it. And if that's where you are, and unless you're Joe Gelhardt and you are literally like the fan favourite and everyone wants you on there and then, even for a player like Cresswell, I can imagine obviously missing some time through injury, but being so close but yet so far to actually playing minutes for either. Scott, what do you think about? Do you think it's a case of, like Martin said, maybe it's just lost in translation, or do you think there is an element of truth into it? And how do you feel about it?
It's obviously happened. You know, Bielsa saying there's been 10 players asking whether they've asked to go out on loan or whether they've asked how close they are to the first team. What worries me is that, and again, you'd say, I touched on this on yesterday's video. What worries me is, what are these guys being told when they sign for us? What is Orta telling them? You know, if he's signing them and telling them, you will start off in our developmental project, the under-23s.
Yeah.
And then you'll get first team football. Is he telling them you'll be playing for the first team within a year? Or, what is it he's telling them? Because if they're starting to feel like, well, we're being told there's this pathway to the first team and it's not happening, well, then you can understand their frustration. From a fan, there's so many perspectives you have to look at it. From a fan perspective, I'm sitting going, like most of us are going, side before self. If they can't put the side before self, get out of the club. But at the same time, these are young guys that want to play for Leeds, but if they're not getting minutes, is it a case of went and asked, can they go out and loan to prove they can play at a higher level than under 23s?
Yeah.
And I would imagine the likes, if you want to start assuming who it could have been, you could go through a whole list of players that right now are going,
yeah,
well, I want minutes. And I guarantee you now, 𝐾𝐎𝐔𝐑 would have been one of those 10. Obviously, Bielsa's not going to go into it, but I guarantee you, 𝐾𝐎𝐔𝐑 will be pissed off right now, knowing that he should be starting. And everyone knows he should be starting, but it is what it is. You could look at about 20 different perspectives on it. But what I'm personally worried about is, what are the kids being told when they're being signed? And have they lost faith in, not in Bielsa, have they lost faith in the overall project of it because they're not getting what they were promised? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I'd like to think with Victor in particular, they're all extremely meticulous in the way that they go about bringing players to the club and showing them what their vision is for them. So I'd like to think it wouldn't be a case of selling them a dream that isn't realistic. And as much as I know some people will immediately respond to what I'm about to say with, well, Bielsa has given the record number of debuts to under 23s in a Premier League season in 9 already. For me,
that's not their choice.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Through circumstance.
I was about to say, like, in response, I don't associate Marcelo Bielsa with pathway to the first team being a quick thing, to be fair. Jamie Shackleton is pretty much the only person I can think of that from when Bielsa came in has still sort of stuck around. Obviously, Meslier was bought in and Pascal Struijk was bought in, but Shackleton was the only sort of one that was, I think, in the academy, that under 23 side when Bielsa started. Remember the captain, Hugo Diaz, released at the end of that season. Like that squad it wasn't the best under 23 side we've ever had, but I think I can only remember, Shackleton from that team that's ended up going into the first team. And he's not exactly like a regular starter. So for me, I don't associate Marcelo Bielsa with the quickest pathway to the first team. As daft as it is, and it's a manager we'll end up talking about a lot because we're playing him at the weekend, Frank Lampard, you can say, well, he brings youngsters in, he lets them play because but
Chelsea, he didn't have a choice either.
Yeah, he didn't have a choice either. But
when he was the Chelsea scum manager, they weren't allowed to buy anyone, so he had to play them.
But he would.
I'm certainly talking about his managerial accomplishments.
He would
Frank
tell
Lampard's
you
managerial accomplishments
on loan to Derby, though, wouldn't he?
and also these were players which have played first team football quite a lot. Like most of our under-23s haven't. Barring Somerville, I think he played some time in the Dutch leagues. But the players that Lampard brought through weren't exactly unknowns. Reece James had played at Wigan, was it? Mason Mount, obviously we know where he played. All of them were players who had senior football. Yeah, that as well. So
just because you mentioned him anyway, I want to come on to you with the Somerville thing. Somerville, obviously, do you think playing minutes before he came to Leeds is something that's kind of put him in that position where he is sort of losing patience?
I think so. I think it could be the fact that I don't think he's really adapted to the level difference between the 23s and the Premier League as quickly as what he may have hoped. From the times that I know we haven't seen him a lot, but he hasn't looked the same sort of player when we've seen in the Premier League as he has looked in the under-23s games, because he was a very positive player for the under-23s, always looking to take on his man straight away, and that wasn't something that we ever really saw him try to do. He was been a lot more conservative with it, and it could be that he himself says, "Look, I think I'm quite ready for this football, but I do need to play some kind of football."
Yeah.
So, like you said, since he's already played the minutes at another level, that he thinks maybe I need some more minutes at a proper senior level before I'm ready for this level of football. So I'm hoping it is with him, and not that he just wants to go anywhere because he thinks he's good enough for this and he isn't going to get the minutes here.
Yeah. No, to be fair, like you just said, then there is a way of asking to go out on loan that isn't me. It isn't a player saying, "Well, I should be getting more minutes," because when you look at the minutes that Summerville's had and the lack of injuries there's been to those wingers like Rafinha, Harrison, and James, do you actually think he could have got any more minutes this season? Do you think he's been hard done by in terms of minutes?
Not maybe he could have come on a little bit earlier in games, but I don't think he should have ever expected to be starting games.
Yeah,
that's the thing, that because especially on the wings where you have a few decent options now, especially since we brought James in, we've got more depth in the wings than we have in other positions, and the players who are there have generally been playing a lot of minutes. I think Harrison has probably played most of the minutes this season, and Rafinha, other than the times where he was carrying that knock for a while, he's also played a lot of minutes as well, and he's not going to get in over either of them, to be honest. So, or James, even when James has been playing out of position, but no, I don't think he's been hard done by. It's maybe just the times when he was brought on a little bit earlier, just more give a chance of see what he can do. But yeah, he's clearly wasn't happy with what he has got, even whether it is that he didn't think he was ready for it, or if he just wanted more minutes, no matter what he came from.
What do you think, Scott? Do you think it's for me? It's that the question I want to ask you is more. We've seen Bielsa. It wasn't as bad this time with Somerville as it was with Cody Drama. It really seemed to throw the toys out of the pram about Cody Drama, but he still wasn't happy, and he seemed quite prickly in what he was saying about Somerville. And like when he said it about Drama, and he was saying like his vision of what I think is fair is clearly very different to mine, and he seemed to take it really personally. Like Martin was just saying there about, look, every player has the right to go, maybe I don't deserve these minutes right now, and I can better myself by doing something else. At the time with the Drama thing, I respected him sort of looking at a loan move to Cardiff and going, well, you'd be better off just doing fucking murder ball, mate, Steve Morrison shit. But do you think maybe we were a little bit hard on Cody Drama, or did you not? Go on.
From what he's done at Cardiff, it would have been better sticking with murder ball. That's all I'll say on Cody Drama. Somerville, on the other hand, I'm 50-50 about, because all that expectation and hope. Whenever he came in, we thought he's going to be an absolute baller in a year or so. Then we're saying Rafinha, and Somerville goes down that pecking order again. The small chances he's had this season, for me, he hasn't done enough to warrant being up there with the first team.
Yeah.
So I could understand him going out on loan to prove a point. But I think last night, his performance for the under-23s, that was him saying, look, I am capable. I can do it. So if he can do that week in, week out, if Bielsa sees it, but I don't think Bielsa changes his mind now. We've seen it with, I know a lot of people go, oh, him and Pablo didn't fall out. They may not have fell out, but he didn't like his attitude at that game where he subbed him off, he kicked the bottle, and he did not play again until the final couple of matches of the season.
Yeah.
And that was
you've
it.
Stolen the question I was going to ask the pair of you. Let me interrupt quickly, and I'm going to ask the pair of you the question. I obviously agree with what Robbie's put here about we don't need to stress about players wanting to leave. Fuck them. Let them go. That's a very Leeds United attitude. Side before self every time. But with Somerville now, and the way Bielsa does tend to react to these kind of things, obviously Drama asked to leave and he was gone with a big fuck you on the way out, pretty much.
Yeah.
Somerville obviously asked to leave. Bielsa's given half a fuck you because he's not gone. Are we going to see Somerville in the first team at all again between now and the end of the season? What do you think?
Not a chance.
Martin, what do you think?
I'm not sure. I think it depends how he reacts in the under-23s. If he does show like he's committed to it and starts going on another level of performances and really tearing it up, it is possible that he gets back onto the bench and we do see a couple more minutes before the end of the season. I don't think it's impossible, but he is one of the few players who, in the wide options, who can change things when it comes off bench. He has the capability to do it anyway. So I don't think Bielsa would hold a grudge in that way. But
Scott's looking at you like, he fucking will. Scott, do you just think...
I don't think he's
held a grudge against Janssen. Pontus Janssen and Pablo Hernandez, for me, are the two that he 100% went, look, you've defied me. Tough shit. See you later. That's the way I see it.
There's a big difference between seasoned pros throwing their prams out the window than 18, 19-year-old lads who are still there mentally. So
it's an interesting one.
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting to see what happens next, if there is any. Obviously, injuries will happen to this squad every 5 minutes. So, thankfully, the wingers seem to have been pretty much all right the whole way through so far. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I reckon if Somerville's to get a chance, it'll be based on Rafinha being injured, James being injured, McKinstry being injured, McCarron being injured, Stuart Dallas being injured, Jamie Shackleton being injured. Anyone that can play with their right foot and can run, I think if they're all injured, Somerville gets a shout. I think.
So who gets a place on the bench, or who starts at right wing when all them are injured? Clarkson or
Clarkson? Oh, couldn't be any worse than he is in that. No, he's doing all right. He's getting better.
So I've just realised, as always, we're a good 22 minutes in and we still haven't actually mentioned Aston Villa yet. So we should probably actually start previewing the game. And Martin, you're the one
that score update as well. Have you heard the score of the Newcastle game?
Go on, break it to us.
1 each. Both goals were OGs.
Right. Okay. I mean, that's all right for us, I think, innit?
That's Frank Lampard's managerial accomplishments, getting OGs and all. Go ahead there. Well done, top boy.
If they want to continue drawing all the teams below us and never bother winning a game, well, that'd be nice. And obviously, we can just keep looking at the teams above us, which would be brilliant.
Yep. Scum beating Burnley as well. Results going our way, so let's hope we get a win tomorrow.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. So we will obviously start to look at the game tomorrow night. And obviously from Bielsa's press conference, we've already spoken about a little bit about transfers and the lack of activity, which I didn't really think he spoke much on anyway. But we'll go to the team news and injuries. And Martin, just you're the man that I always go to sort of tell us what he said and how depressed we should be about certain players, but how happy we should be about others.
Well, to be honest, injury-wise, it doesn't sound as bad as what it has been. I think the only players who aren't available, is Phillips and Cooper. Obviously, that those two are the longer-term injuries, but it did say that they are in the final stages of their recovery, which is always a positive thing. And I believe Calvin has been in some slowly getting his training levels up, which is good. So I think he might be one to return sooner out of the pair of them. And then I think Firpo is also injured, but potentially back for the weekend. So he's very close. And Forshaw is returned, which is a big thing for me. I'll be very glad that he's not. But obviously the big man himself, Patrick Bamford, is still not available, which is...
And when's he back?
Well, he's not even jogging. So, how long is a piece of string? To be honest,
Bamford Jr. will be on the pitch before Patrick's back.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I'm thinking of now. Congratulations to Patrick Bamford and Michaela Islands on the birth of their baby, by the way. It's a lovely picture which was shared. And I'll be glad to see him back on the pitch, but it could be Bamford first. I want him back, but I'm not holding out hope at the moment that he's going to return this season.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that sort of level. It's been, 15 games now since we've seen him? Oh, at least, besides the one game where he came back and scored and then got injured again. So I don't really count that as anything, even though he didn't score.
But how mad's that he's missed, 15 games and he's our top goal scorer? Like, how mad is that?
Most assists, yeah. He's got the most assists out of any of our players. To say he's missed, that shows the creativity that we are missing when he's gone. It's just so bad. Like, no one, because the burden gets passed on to Rafinha to score the goals. Rafinha's only got 2 assists as well. Ayling's got 2 assists. I think 𝐾𝐿's got 2 assists, but Bamford still has 2 assists. No one has more. Obviously, he's started 5 games all season, so it's just mental. But Scott, obviously, with that injury news, a little bit of me hoped the first answer he gave when he said that the final stages of the evolution for Cooper and Phillips was, I was like, oh, they'll be back for Man United then. And then he was like, they won't be back till early March. So not back for Man United then. Firpo, by the sounds of it, could be back for Everton at the weekend. But what are you thinking now about Bamford? Are you sort of thinking, as Chris would say, biscuit legs and the new Adam Forshaw? What do we think? Do you think we'll see him again before the end of the season?
I don't think we'll see him until after March. I think we'll see him maybe the last run-in, if anything. So I think the best way we can try and be optimistic and try and get behind them as much as we can is by just thinking, right, who is the new striker? Who is going to be our striker? Because Bamford's not going to be here for a while, so we'll have to think. Who's the striker?
I'll enjoy this conversation when we come round to the team selection. It's always one of my favourites, but we know who the striker is. Stan James.
Tell me, do you want me to throw you the poll results from the poll I run there?
Yeah, go on.
Right, so I've started doing polls because they're fun and people actually interact with me. It's great. But yeah, so I run a poll there. I was going to be using it for tomorrow on the live stream, but makes more sense here. And the poll asked you, now this is not my opinion, this is not All Leeds TV opinion, this is your opinion, the viewers. We had nearly 1,300 voting, and the options were for who do you think should be our striker? The options were Rodrigo, Roberts, 𝐾𝐿, or none of the above. Can you take a wild guess who it was?
Is it 𝐾𝐿?
It is 𝐾𝐿. 𝐾𝐿 got percentage. 69. I'm not doing your
nice.
0.2. No, 69% for 𝐾𝐿. 69. 27% for Rodrigo.
Yeah.
2%, and I'm rounding it up, 2% for Roberts.
Oh, that's good.
And 1%, none of the above.
At least Roberts wasn't bottom.
No. Do you know what bugs me about Roberts? Do you remember that time? I think Bielsa had just taken over, and Roof was injured and Bamford was injured. Roberts played well then. Now, that was 3 years ago? Why can't we have that Roberts? That's what annoys me. It's because he did
I can't even be asked.
no ability once.
We'll
can't do it anymore.
We'll get there. I do have one quick question. Have either of you two heard this? You know about the Patrick Bamford thing with the picture, and the picture is taken in what looks like a hospital, but the baby was born at home because it was a home birth.
Yeah.
Has anyone else? I mean, in the comments as well, if you've heard this, please do agree or disagree with me. But from what I understand, Bamford is the one that's in hospital and they have gone to visit him. Am I wrong? And if I am wrong, please enlighten me, because I want to know what's going on. Because obviously we first got told when it was the original injury that it was, I can't even remember what it was the first time, but then he came back, he did the hamstring against Brentford celebrating, and then Bielsa was like, it's all going well. Then there was a new injury, and now it's a bone in the bottom of his foot. If he's in hospital, does that mean he's had surgery? Does that mean that there's a break? Because if it's a break, you're talking 4 to 6 weeks, easy. And then if it's surgery, you're probably talking somewhere between like 2 or 3 months. Like, have you heard this rumor as well, or is it just me that heard that?
That's news to me.
Yeah, I've not heard that or anything about him having surgery. I just think maybe they had to go into hospital to get some checks done, and because it just looked like he was having skin-to-skin contact, which seems to me like something that you do straight after the born. And
As soon as they're born.
I know from experience. So I don't think he was in hospital for anything. I can't see that. I can't see that, to be honest. Seemed like a bit of an odd thing to do. Daddy's in hospital. We'll go and have some skin-to-skin contact. It doesn't seem to add up to me.
It's just the rumor I heard. But yes, right. Aston Villa. We keep getting very sidetracked. So when it comes to tomorrow night, I think we've got probably one of the best possible people that we could ask on Steven Gerrard and what Steven Gerrard's philosophy is, because we have a Rangers fan who is also a Leeds fan, but a Rangers fan, to talk to us about what wonderful football you played under Steven Gerrard after not winning anything for a very long time. He brought the good days back. He had 𝐘𝐒𝐅𝐂 scoring goals from inside his own half in the Europa League. Generally speaking, is he doing the same job at Aston Villa as he did with your lot? And what do you make of him?
I think he will do. I don't see them sort of finishing top 10 this season. They might break in top 10, but I don't see it. I think he will. Obviously, he's got the same team behind him that he had at Rangers. Yeah. He's trying to implement his own style again that he did with Rangers as well. What frustrates me is I really wanted him to be our manager when Bielsa eventually goes. I think that might have been a possibility, but he's dangerous. He's a good manager. He has accomplished something. He turned Rangers into having their identity back. He brought pride back, the Ibrox. You know, there were so many years there where Rangers were just couldn't cut it. And then Stevie Gerrard came, unproven, and then he just threw his own stamp on it. Now, he spoke himself this week about his admiration for Bielsa, the way Bielsa plays, his ethos. So again, this is essentially another disciple of Bielsa. You know, so it's not going to be easy. I don't think Aston Villa have got the best quality of players in England by any means, but whenever you've got a good coach, they can work wonders. Bielsa's done it with us, so we can't disagree with it, because Bielsa took a squad of bang average mid-table championship players and turned them into Premier League level players. You know, most of them, at least, most of them. So we're going to be expecting a lot of intensity from Villa. This is going to be a Villa that we've never played before. We played them last year and we'll run rings around them. You know, the last couple of times that we've played them over the years, we've run rings around them. Tomorrow is going to be difficult. And Chris has just said it in the comments there. Coutinho is an absolute game changer. Game changer for them. Look what he done whenever Villa were playing scum. He came off from the bench and he pulled a draw out of nowhere. You know, that's the type of player he is. And under Stevie Gerrard, under his style, under his ethos, this is going to be tough tomorrow. Yeah.
I think, to be honest, the player that I actually fear the most from Aston Villa at the moment isn't Coutinho. It would actually be Jacob Ramsey, because I really like what Gerrard's done to Ramsey. Seems to have really brought him on really quickly. Obviously, he was already getting minutes before Gerrard came in, so it's not like Gerrard's found him, but does seem to have helped his game a lot. And I think those two linking up together. But I think, Martin, you'll be the man to ask about this tactically and statistics and all that shit. But midfield for me is where the game's won or lost. And obviously, a Leeds United weakness that stares us in the face most weeks is that gaping hole that can be left in our midfield if you beat our press. Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, Felipe Coutinho, Buendia, Ramsey. You've got 5 there that I expect to start in like I think it's a 4-3-3, or you can call it a 4-2-3-1, 4-5, whatever. But there's 5 midfielders on the pitch for me. They're the 5. And we'll get obviously into lineup predictions and the importance of maybe having Adam Forshaw back in or out. But that midfield getting overrun for me is a big deal. What do you make of that battle? And is that where you think it's going to be won or lost?
I think it's going to be more in the wide areas, to be honest. Both us and Villa attack a lot through the wide areas.
Yeah.
The shape that Villa have got under Gerrard, I'm not sure if it's the same as when he was at Rangers, but although it would class the 4-3-3, the wide players aren't generally wide.
Yeah,
they kind of play with 2 10s.
Yeah,
and it's been, I think last game it was Buendia and Coutinho, and they sort of operate as 10s in certain areas, but they do drift out wide, which means that it's going to pose some problems for us for our man marking system, because if you have, rather than having 2 wingers, if you've got 2 players who are inverting more, being more 10s than wingers, then you're going to have the problem. The ones who normally marking them would be our fullbacks. And that will think of the space that will leave if our fullbacks are following those 2 10s inside. It's going to cut a lot of space, and what they like to do is push up their fullbacks. And so you'll have on one side, you'll have Digne, and on the other side, Matty Cash pushing up into that area which is left free from the marking with the 10s drifting inside. And then what they like to do is their central midfielders move out into the spaces where the 2 fullbacks were. So it's sort of, they're very clever at the way they cover space, and I think it's going to be a very tough game. And to be honest, I think they may cede us some space in our defensive third, but as soon as we get out of our half, we're going to find it very difficult to progress the ball. They keep their team very compact, and what makes things difficult for us to get the ball into good areas. And I think the best way that we can hit them will be in transition. If we can get the ball out quickly to Rafinha or to Jack Harrison, try to hit that space before the midfielders can cover the space left behind by the fullbacks. That's what I think that we'll have to do. So I think it's going to be in the wide areas where this is going to be won or lost, because if we lose it in transition too often, they can do the same thing to us. And it's just, it's going to be a fascinating tactical battle, to be honest. I'm looking forward to it, and it's good how quickly that Gerrard has managed to get this identity into Villa, and there's quite a lot of changes between his. I know it's the same shape, but there's a lot of different things being done to it since what was going on with Dean Smith. And it's going to be interesting. It really is. I'm looking forward to it.
One thing that Scott said that I very much wanted to ask both of you, just because it does tend to be anyway, when people haven't played Marcelo Bielsa teams before, and it's the first time coming up against them, we do tend to, touch wood, have a good record in those games.
Don't finish that sentence. I know what you're going to say. Don't finish that sentence.
So
you're going to scut us.
So I was going to ask, do you think that's something that plays to our advantage? I know people have obviously said that Gerrard's putting the Villa players through a sort of mini pre-season in time they've had to try and deal with the energy that we'll bring, because that's something that he's identified as something where we are clearly stronger than them. But I think he feels individually, man for man, they match us up and probably are better than us. And like Chris is saying, looking at a player like Coutinho, I'd say we've got Rafinha. Rafinha's better for me. Not paid anywhere near as much probably, but man for man, do you worry that we're not as good as them? And do you think that new factor of not having played us before does give us an edge, Scott?
That's a good question, Phil. That's a very good question.
What am I for, mate?
While Stevie Gerrard hasn't managed a team against us, you have to remember the majority of those players have played against us already several times. So this is slightly different for the manager. This could be an element of surprise type thing, but again, he's another disciple of Bielsa. As such, he's got a lot of admiration. He implements a lot of things that Bielsa would teach into his game, much like Pep Guardiola does. But the difference, this is where it'll get me, is the difference between their players and our players is that they are experienced and tenured Premier League players now. You know, they've been there a much longer period of time than us. Even whenever they weren't there, they weren't out of the loop as long as we were. Yeah, our players are only in this league a year.
Mm.
You know, so there's that experience that they have that we don't. You look at the fullbacks. Look at 𝐷𝐐𝐬, absolute wonder signing for Jared. Yeah. Wonder signing. I know everyone talks about Coutinho. Look at 𝐷𝐐𝐬 as a fantastic fullback, in my opinion, one of the best and most underrated in the league. So we've got him to come up against, and he'll be on Rafinha, won't he? He will. He'll be on Rafinha.
Yeah. Well,
he's our left. He's our left fullback.
On which side Rafinha ends up on, but you'd imagine he'd be on the right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just what worries me. That's just what worries me is that experience they have. Stevie Gerrard, you know, that he's just in there. They're going to want to impress him. I honestly think these guys are going to be so much harder to play than we anticipated. Yeah. But again, we thought Newcastle was going to be a walk in the park, and both teams were crap. And Newcastle got a fluky, lucky goal. Mm-hmm. You know, so are we overthinking this? And really, we're going, do you know what? We are going to go out and romp them tomorrow. Yeah. You know, we've got players back. The players have been, our players have been given a massive boost of confidence and a massive boost in their faith, because they've said, look, we've got what we need to survive in this squad right now.
Well, the only players
that's what our owners have just told them. Yous are good enough to do the job. So for me, that should be playing on their heads and be a massive confidence boost for them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. For me, the only players that we know are definitely back and available tomorrow. It doesn't mean they start. It doesn't mean they're even in the squad. With Bielsa, it means they could still be off in a hotel somewhere watching the game for the next 3 weeks. But Charlie Cresswell, Jamie Shackleton, Adam Forshaw, do those? I mean, after this question, we'll do the lineup prediction. But Martin, those 3 players being back, does that make you feel like it's a game changer and we can go and win the game based on those 3 players?
Well, Forshaw is definitely the biggest out of those 3. But Cresswell and Shackleton, no, I don't think they changes that drastically. Obviously the 2 players who were waiting to come back, who the ones that were missed the most, is Liam Cooper and Calvin Phillips.
Yeah.
But even then, Robin Koch has been doing a very good job in defensive midfield. I've been liking what he has been doing. He's been playing the role in a very similar manner to Calvin, but Calvin just galvanizes the squad more. He's the one Leeds homegrown talent that everyone associates with our club, and it's going to be a lift to the squad when he is back playing, even if it's not necessarily a tactical advantage. It's more of a morale boost, isn't it? But but those 3 players aren't as big as a game changer as what some would say. But for sure, definitely, I want him in the squad every single time he's available.
Yeah, well, we will go straight to that. Obviously, we will predict the lineup. I'm not going to bother asking you who's in net. We all go Meslier in net every week, so it's just boring. Back 4 then. Who is in your back 4, and does it look exactly like it did against Newcastle, Scott?
Yeah, I can't see any changes. I don't see where the changes would come.
Yeah.
So what's that, Dallas?
So Ayling,
Strike, Llorente, and Ayling.
Yeah, that's the
4. But that's what we will see. But I would still be opting for Leo Yelda at left back and put Dallas back in centre mid.
Yeah,
that's what I do in Championship Manager or Football Match, whatever. That's what I would do. But
I won't be able to ask who drops out of that midfield, but that's one thing. Remind me when we get to your midfield. I'd want to know. Look, I know you're giving me them eyes, but for the sake of the content, I'm going to ask you anyway. Okay.
Okay.
Martin, you're back 4, mate.
I don't think it'll be any different to Newcastle. I'd imagine it will be the same as that. So we'll have Ayling at right back, Llorente at right centre back, Struijk at left centre back, and Dallas at left back. So yeah, I'd be okay with that. I would, obviously, if he was fit, I would prefer 𝐵𝐵 at left back over Dallas. That's not because Dallas does a bad job there, just because 𝐵𝐵 is a specialist left back and he's a bit better at building up than what Dallas is.
And we like to have Stewie D in midfield these days.
Mm-hmm.
So your CDM, I'm not going to obviously change that back four. I'm happy with that back four out of who's available anyway. So no changes from me. The CDM position, Robin Koch has been there for the last few games and actually been very good. Adam Forshaw is back, but we know how Bielsa likes to manage people and getting them not rushed back in, especially when it's Adam Forshaw. Do you see Adam Forshaw coming straight back in, and would you want him straight back in, or does Koch start for you, Scott?
I would be having Forshaw there. If Forshaw is fit, if he is able to play him. Yeah. It's plain and simple. If the player is fit, they've been training. If they are able to play, then play him. If he's not able to play, well, then it'll be Koch, and Forshaw will probably be on the bench.
Right. Martin?
I think we'll see Robin Koch in defensive midfield, and it'll be Forshaw, and I'm not sure who the other one's going to be alongside Forshaw. That's the only thing that I'm not 100% on.
You've stolen my question already.
But yeah, I'm not sure who it's going to be, to be honest. It depends, because Rodrigo, it's possible he plays elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the other position there he could play. Personally, I would prefer it to be Forshaw and 𝐾𝐿 in midfield. Right. That is what I would prefer. 𝐾𝐿 is better at linking up in the wide areas, and he just generally knows the system better, and he's a better presser. So that's who I would prefer there.
Yeah. So the question I was going to ask Scott is, if Forshaw obviously is fit to start, could we not see Robin Koch stay where he is and then Forshaw play further up with a Mateusz 𝐾𝐿, for example, and then we have the option of pushing Rodrigo up front so that we don't have the Dan James up front debacle, but we all know Dan James is starting up front anyway. But yeah, would you go for that idea of having Forshaw a bit further up and Koch staying where he is and having a Koch, 𝐾𝐿, Forshaw threesome?
You were just dying to get that in.
Always.
You were wanting to get that in as much as Marius 𝐾𝐿 wants to play alongside Lewis Bate, so he can just keep typing 𝐾𝐿.
Yeah.
Say if we go back to who I would be having as my back line again, if Forshaw's fit enough to play, well, that changes that back line as well, because I would be having Koch there over Llorente all day. I feel Koch isn't as drastic at fouling, at least for me. So I'd be having 𝐾𝐿 as my left back. So then Forshaw would be the CDM, and then my two centre mids would be Dallas and 𝐾𝐿. That's who I'd be having. But as you said, we all know who's going to play and what's going to play. But that's what I would do. Me personally, that's what I want to see. I think that would be our strongest option.
Yeah,
I really do.
And then obviously so obviously we've kind of ended up doing 4-3, and then we'll do the next three. So you three. So obviously your two wide men and your striker. I'll go Martin first, just because Scott is just finished, and I'll come back to you, Scott.
Yeah, it'll be Rafinha on the right, Harrison on the left, and up front, it's probably going to be James. I would prefer it to be either Rodrigo or Joffrey. Probably I'd prefer it to be Rodrigo, because I think that Joffrey offers more off the bench as a threat than what Rodrigo does, and so that's what I would like to see. I think Rodrigo does need to have some more time up front, just to show what he is capable of doing in that position. He doesn't often get the chance to play there, and he does interpret that role a lot differently.
Hey mate, Rodrigo could be one of them 10 going, fucking put me up front or I'm off. And in fact, we know he wants to leave, so he probably is one of them fucking 10.
I think if Rodrigo wants to leave, we would just release him and say, away you go. Just save that money he's getting paid. Fuck me.
But yeah. You'd prefer to have Rodrigo start up front?
Yeah, I prefer Rodrigo to start up front over James. While he doesn't offer as much in the way of pressing, we have seen some changes to the way that we're pressing recently anyway. We've seen Raphinha joining whoever it is up front, pressing the back line more, just to give less opportunity for the centre-backs to meander the way through the midfield like they have been doing at will for the past 2 seasons. So I'm hoping that is something which continues, because Raphinha is a good presser and it's always good to see him putting that extra pressure on. And although I have enjoyed seeing Dan James pressing the goalkeeper, that has always been a very fun thing to see.
And getting booked for it in both of his last 2 games.
Indeed.
So, Scott, who's your front 3 then, mate?
Exactly what Martin said.
Yeah.
Exactly what Martin said. For me, as much as Dan James has been playing brilliant, and he's been getting better and better each game, when he's in his position, he's not a striker, and he's like 5'4". So why are we swinging in these big high crosses to someone that's just not going to jump that high? If James has to play, I would rather see him starting on the left over Harrison, But Harrison's been doing well. And Raphinha's, it's one of those things. You've got 3 wingers that are absolutely just, they're doing a good job at the minute. Our problem is there's just no, I don't know. I just don't know why he doesn't play a striker as a striker. I just don't get it. I would be starting with Rodrigo, and in the second half, if Rodrigo hasn't scored, 𝐾𝐎𝐔𝐑 comes on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do.
I'm not going to lie. I was a bit surprised. Neither of you said you want, especially you, Scotty, because I know you're all for this kind of thing, but nobody said to start Joffrey.
No, well, see, I think he brings something to the fans when he comes off the bench. Yeah. He's the only one that whenever he comes off the bench, the entire fans we just go mental. We're like, yes, we've got this. We don't have any other subs like that. Yeah. So it's a kind of it's a detriment to Joffrey, I think, because I think maybe Bielsa plays into that, knowing that he can get the crowd riled up again by bringing Joffrey on. If that's a way that he thinks. But again, I don't understand how the greatest coach in the world isn't playing a striker as a goddamn striker. A blind man.
When you say you're not sure, are you taking the piss?
Huh?
When you say you're not sure, are you taking the piss? This is Bielsa. He doesn't play anyone where they're meant to play, mate.
No, I know, but I just don't get it.
Well, it isn't a new thing. It's not a new thing. I'm not surprised at all.
Your main striker. You play a striker as a striker. I don't get it. Call me old-fashioned. A striker's a striker. It's frustrating, and I can understand and feel the frustration coming from the fan base on this, because I'm not on the fence. I'm just looking at all angles.
Yeah.
And whilst Bielsa sees something in each of these players, and he wants them to show what he sees, they're not showing it. Whatever he sees, nobody else is seeing it. Nobody else is seeing it. Right, we're going to talk about Roberts, because I know you're busting to bring him up.
I wasn't going to bring him up, to be honest. I was going to steer as far fucking clear as him as I could. The only thing I was going to mention was, obviously, with the return of Cresswell and Shackleton, and like Chris has said there, if Rodrigo does start up front with Forshaw being back in, there's a chance we have the likes of Daniel James and Joe 𝐾𝐎𝐔𝐑 on the bench. That is a massive improvement on having, no offense to 15-year-old Archie Gray, but it's a massive improvement on having so many young people on the bench and having a senior option that we can bring off the bench when at 60 minutes you can guarantee Marcelo Bielsa will still go, right, Tyler, it's your turn. What do you feel about the bench, Martin? Does it encourage you to think that there's going to be some big names on there, and I'd like to see the names 𝐘𝐎𝐓𝐇 and Bates still on there, ideally, but welcome back Cresswell, 𝐿, and some others. Be nice.
Yeah, I think it's good to have some more depth on the bench, other than, like you say, 15-year-old 𝐼𝐈𝐄. No disrespect to him, but he shouldn't be anywhere near a Premier League first team bench at his age. Not saying he's not going to be able to play at that level at any point, but yeah, it's good to have extra depth. And if we don't see Rodrigo up front, even if James is up front, Rodrigo could change the game from the bench as well. Having Rodrigo and Joffrey on the bench are both two game-changing substitutions, so it's always a good thing. Let's hope we can get them on the pitch at the right time. That's the issue that we've got with Bielsa substitutions, which aren't always the best. I love the man, but I will acknowledge that weakness in his game is when the subs should come on. But
Scotty, how do you feel about that bench? You're a bit more enthused with some of the names. You like seeing the youngsters on it there, don't you?
I do. I the youngster that without sounding dodgy. And do you know what? He's took a wee battering in the comments there. It's not often I pay attention to you lot in the comments, but I am today. Jamie Shackleton. People seem to have forgot just how good Shackleton was before he got injured. Shackleton. I said it at the start of the season. Shackleton should be the #1 choice at right back. Bill Ayling got injured. Jamie Shackleton jumped in, and everyone started going, "Holy shit, Jamie Shackleton's playing brilliant," and he did. He played brilliant. So I don't understand why people are saying he's not good enough. He's not cutting them.
I think he maybe had one. I think he maybe had one good game.
I did do that, and I did say on here a few times, Scott, you were right. I was wrong. Jamie Shackleton, and then I very quickly in the next few games backtracked and said, "Yeah, bring back Luke Ayling. This isn't good anymore."
No, lies. It's all lies.
No, I think with Shaq, the opportunities maybe are running out a bit for him to turn himself into a first team regular, and obviously the age he is, it says a lot when people's opinions of, hate to throw him under the bus as always, but the opinion of Tyler Roberts, I think the two of them are the same age, and the amount of minutes that Tyler plays in comparison to Shaq. I think Shackleton, he struggles to stay fit. Struggles to kind of really make any sort of position his own, and for me, like, I just don't see him as a centre mid. But mine, what say you on Jamie Shaq? I know that I saw some comments earlier saying sort of maybe it's time for him to go at the end of the season. Obviously, we are going to look to upgrade the squad, but do you think there's more time and role for Shackleton as a squad player in the future still?
I'm not sure, because I'm not sure if Shackleton is built for this kind of football and the way we train and the way we play football, because he does seem to pick up a lot of little niggly injuries for a player of his age, and that isn't the sort of player that we should be trying to rely on even in a backup capacity, because he's still so young. He's still about 22, 23. He's still quite young, and for him to picking up this many minor injuries at his age, it just doesn't bode well for in a few years' time, when he is a bit older, that he's going to get over these little niggly injuries. So, and the time when we have seen him, he's had some good games and some bad games. It's been inconsistent, and I do think it is maybe time that we do look to bring in a more suitable right back who is a right back. I don't think he's quite managed to nail down right back. I think he is. I am leaning towards that he's better at right back than he is at central midfield. But that could change in a different squad. He could. I think I would love to see him find first team football elsewhere, somewhere that he can nail down a starting position, and hopefully we'll play somewhere that's a bit less intense than us. So maybe he would be able to keep fit for a bit longer.
I'm going to throw it back to Scott, and just with what we've said about the 10 players, and it's okay to want to leave to get more minutes and stuff. Are you still sticking to no, Jamie Shackleton should start at right back, or are you happy for him to leave and get minutes elsewhere?
Breaks my heart about Jamie, because you know what? I think I'm his biggest bloody cheerleader. But
Probably.
he's Leeds through and through. We're all banging on about how we want these players to be all about Leeds. We've got one that's all about Leeds.
Sounds Johnny Houghton, mate, but he's not good enough to play for us anymore.
Johnny Houghton contributed twice to putting the scum out of the FA Cup. Let's not slate legends, sir. Jamie Shack, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I hate that I'm agreeing with you on Jamie Shack. And even what Chris is saying, and do you know what? I see this point of view. Just because I'm a fan and I like the player, you have to think bigger picture. Because come the summer, I'm saying players like Rodrigo, Roberts, they gotta go. Not even staying around. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but Jamie Shackleton could probably do better at another club. And I hate that because I friggin' love Jamie Shack. Love Jamie Shack. But I think he could probably do better at a championship club. I don't think he's had enough minutes to get to the level that he should be now. And if we're to move forward, sentimentality has to go out the window this summer. Yeah. And that means me having to cry myself to sleep whenever we do let Jamie Shack go. You put an absolute doctor on the thing.
Well, it's all right, mate. I'm going to cheer you up. I'm going to leave Chris's comment on now for the rest of the show because as much as I am already really fucking bored of the BBC and Sky and BT all piping the fuck out of him. They love him. They want to toss him off constantly. Every time they put anything on about him, they can't help but just buy into the Lampard is wonderful story. Fucking welcome back, Fat Frank. Welcome back.
Can I point something out? I got into a row with a Chelsea fan this week over this, right? Frank Lampard and Stevie Gerrard both come into the Premier League at the same time in new clubs. Nowhere did Stevie Gerrard, who has actual managerial accolades, he has trophies. He took Rangers to their 55th league title. Nowhere were there feature-length articles or hour-long shows about how great of a manager he is. Instead, every single media outlet basically give Frank Lampard hand jobs. They did.
That's been mental.
Like what the actual Friar talk. Why? What's he accomplished? He took a shit on the Leeds changing room. That's a highlight of his career.
Yeah.
My God.
He took a Chelsea side that went on to win the Champions League in the same season to 10th and got fired. Tuchel literally walked into that job, did fucking nothing different and won the Champions League. And we've got very sidetracked and the Everton show is going to be really fun, I'm sure. But we've already seen some comments coming in about
if they beat us, we will never hear the end of it.
Mate, I can't wait to hear we beat you at home, we beat you away. And if anything, out of the two games, because I'm going to get us in a second on to our score predictions. But before I do get us onto the score predictions, we've got two games this week, both away from home. And obviously following those two games, we've got Man United at home, which is never going to be an easy game for us. How many points do you, A, think we need from these two games? How many points do you, B, think we'll get from these two games? And C, where do you think those points come? I'm going to go to Martin first.
I think that we'll end up with 4 points out of these two. I'm going to say a draw against Villa tomorrow and a win against Everton. That is where I would prefer it to be. I would much rather have the points from Frank Lampard. I've got nothing against Stevie G. So I would, if you give me now, which one would you prefer to get the 3 points against?
Absolutely,
it will be Everton every day of the week. But the Villa are going to be a tough side. Much tougher than what Everton are going to be. Not saying that we won't have our challenges against Everton. For all what he did do well against us. Did Frank Lampard when we played his side in the Premier League? They did take us apart quite a bit in London after Bamford got us off to a great start.
Different circumstances, no level playing field involved in that one compared to when we were actually.
That's what I was about to say. That they did have a much superior side to what we had. So, and Everton do not have that at their disposal. But they do still have a good side to Everton. They are underperforming this season based on what their side should be capable of. And they've still got a lot of quality players. They've been missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin for a good long stretch of this season. And we know how hard it is to miss our best striker. So we know that will have impacted them. So is he back now? Is Calvert-Lewin back?
I think he is. I think he was back in their last game, wasn't he? In the cup.
Yeah, so that sounds
he hasn't done anything tonight.
Nope.
And sad.
Yes. So it's going to be a tougher game in Villa. So that's the way I would expect it to go. And I would, even if we were to lose tomorrow against Villa, if we can pick up 3 points against Everton, that'll be fine. But we do need to win at least one of these matches, in my opinion.
Yeah, Scotty, what say you, mate? What's your take on the next 2 games?
I'm going with an absolutely. I think I may be the only person that'll say this, but I think we're getting 7 points out of our next 3.
Okay, where's the 1 point coming?
Tomorrow night against Villa.
Good lad. Good lad. I'm very proud.
Burnley are currently drawn with Scum. If Burnley can draw with Scum, we can beat them. In our own backyard, we owe them. I know we're all going to be talking about Everton and all, but obviously we want to beat that fat kid. I would love to beat Everton, and then the next day Lampard gets sacked. Because then Everton are like, do you know what? We're better off with a caretaker manager,
Yeah.
But I know what Man United and all. Every game's a tough game, but they've lost silly matches. We've won matches where we thought we having a hope, like West Ham away. Why can't we beat Man United? I'm saying 7 points out of our next 3.
I like the optimism. I mean, I'll be honest, I'd take losing both of these games if it meant that we could beat Man United at home. I'm in the cheese wedge for that game, so I cannot imagine what kind of atmosphere it's going to be if we actually win. Even if we just fucking score, it's going to be mental. So I can't wait for the big match preview on that one. But yeah, for me, I would say, in all honesty, I could see either 2 or 3 points out of the next 2 games. I don't see us. It's not that I don't see us winning tomorrow night, but I think if we were going to win one of the 2 games, I'd be more inclined to believe we can take apart a Villa side, an Everton side, and a Frank Lampard side. I've got a lot more respect for Gerrard. I think, like Chris said, actually, one of the comments I flashed up before I started leaving this one on. I think a draw tomorrow night would be a really good result. If we can get goals, but at the same time keep a clean sheet, that would mean we'd have to win 1-0. But yeah, if we can, I think a clean sheet would do the defence and 𝐿 the world of good after what happened with the Newcastle goal. But yeah, I'd take a point tomorrow night. I'll get your score predictions in now then, guys. What do you think for tomorrow, Scott? What's the score going to be? And if there is any goals, who scores them?
I'm going 2 each.
Right. And who gets our goals?
I don't know who gets our goals because it will end up being like a free kick by, I don't know, Luke Ayling, a free kick from Rafinha, and a header from a corner by Pascal. So it'll be something totally random. If Bielsa, takes off them strikerless tinted binoculars off and plays an actual striker, you can see Rodrigo getting 2. But I honestly couldn't say who's going to score. I think for Villa, you're probably getting a goal out of Buendia and Coutinho.
Okay, Martin. What do you expect?
Well, I expect the game to be pretty tight. I'm going to go 1-1, and I think we'll see Rafinha get ours. I think he's our biggest threat at the moment, and I think he'll be the one who's most likely to hurt them with. Hopefully, if he can take advantage of this possible space in front of him, that could do something that we will look to, because we will, like you mentioned before the last time we spoke about the games, that Bielsa was saying to hit the diagonals, straight away hit them. So that's clearly something that we're emphasising, and I can't see that changing. So Rafinha is going to be the one to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, not scored in his last 3 for us, but obviously scored another beauty for Brazil on international duty. Obviously did limp off, but we haven't been told anything about him being injured. So fingers crossed he obviously starts and scores a return to goal scoring form. I don't know whether I want to take the 1-1 like you have because I want a goal for Rafinha, or I want to go for 0-0 because I want Meslier to get a clean sheet. But I would bite your hand off for a draw. I've seen a few. Sorry for people sending their comments in with score predictions. I have already said I'm keeping this on. Stop crying, Frank. So I'll read out some of the score predictions anyway. I've seen 3-1, 3-0 to Villa, 2-2 from Chris, 3-1 Gale, 2-0 to Leeds from Nick Griffin. Allison is going 1-0 Leeds. Martin going 2-0 to Villa. So there's a range of different ones there. 3-2 Leeds from David just come in. So yeah, there's a range of different predictions there. No one seems to think we're going to get pasted, but equally no one seems to think we're going to hammer them either. I think everyone's in agreement it's going to be a tight game. So fingers crossed we come out on the right side. Where are you watching the game tomorrow night then, fellas? Scott, what's your plan?
I'll be watching it on... Is it on BT Sports?
It's on BT Sport. You don't have to
I'll be watching it on BT Sports, and if you don't want to listen to the commentary, you can come here to All Leeds TV and not having to jump on one of those teleportational devices to go over to China to watch the game. Is that good? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, well done. Feel free to hammer that plug home a bit more if you want to. What else can people expect tomorrow from mainly you, because you're the only person that can actually be bothered doing any content on match day?
Well, I got told off, right? So I got dared to down a beer before the kickoff of the Burnley game, and I says, right, well, I'll down it, and if I down it, we're going to win. So we downed it, and we won. Okay. So we've done it against West Ham as well.
All right. You do it against Newcastle?
But against Newcastle, I got halfway and I choked, and I didn't down it.
Silly bastard.
So I've actually been getting the blame of why we lost to Newcastle.
Well, let them pipes, mate. Open up.
First things first is I'm going to be downing a tin before the match kicks off. I'll be going live probably about 7:30. So yeah, it'll be fun. If you are easily offended, I do advise you to just go and watch someone that's a little bit more of the
BT
snowflake variety. What?
BT Sport, perhaps.
Yeah, watch BT Sports. Yeah, or CBB. I don't know.
Martin, what's your plan? Are you going to be watching Scott?
No, I'll be watching one BT Sport. Sorry, Scott. I like as little distractions as possible.
Martin, you're supposed to say yes, I'd be listening, just to let people think that there's people actually watching.
Yep, I've effed it up.
Hey, the watch-alongs do just fine for views. We get
Scott is smashing it, and I'm really happy that he's doing so well with it. It's not something that I could do, and it's great to see it's one of us. It has got it about him to do it, because
it's just awkward when I have a meltdown, because I can. That Newcastle game in particular, I have no idea what came out of my mouth that day, but at least it wasn't offensive. No one complained.
That's where I'd struggle. I'd be saying words that would get us demonetized. But one thing I do want to see, and I know I'll have to wait to the Man United game, but the watch along and fan cam highlights, that needs to come back. I've really enjoyed that.
That will happen because Tash is at the game tomorrow, so we will have we'll have a fan cam up, and we'll have watch along fan cam highlights as well.
We
I think every time Dallas goes near the box, I'm going to shout, "Don't shoot!" Just see if that works.
Well, that's cheered me right up. I'm looking forward to watching that. So as always, guys, if you haven't already, please do smash the like button. I wouldn't understand why you wouldn't have done this already, but subscribe to the channel. Remember, if we get to 30k before the end of the season, Oscar will be allowed to live. And if he's obviously dead, that will be your fault.
If we get to 30k before the end of the season, we're going to give away a home, away, and a third kit. Well, not the kit, just the tops. We're going to give away all 3 of them. And you can go for a weekend away with Phil to the caravan in Dorset. There you go.
Where Oscar's body will be buried if you don't subscribe. And so, yeah, thank you very much for joining us tonight, guys. Thank you for your comments. And obviously, smash the like, subscribe, and keep an eye out on the channel over the next 48 hours for a shitload more content. But thank you for joining me as well, Scott and Martin. All I need to ask you now is to just wave politely to the camera until it tells you to stop.